In 1982, the Kennedy half-dollar carried with it not just the image of a president, but the spirit of a nation that had endured both triumph and tragedy. Born out of the grief of President John F. Kennedy's assassination in 1963, the half-dollar quickly became a symbol of remembrance, a coin that Americans held not only for spending, but often as a keepsake, a token of respect. Among the many Kennedy halves struck over the decades, the 1982 D-Rare Kennedy half-dollar stands apart as a coin that captivates collectors to this day. It may look like an ordinary half-dollar to the untrained eye, but within numismatic circles, it has proven itself at repeated auctions to be one of the most surprising treasures, fetching extraordinary sums, with one example valued at an astonishing $443,000. The Kennedy half-dollar's journey began in 1964, when Congress and the U.S. Mint rushed to honor the fallen president just months after his death. The obverse designed by Gilroy Roberts featured Kennedy's left-facing bust, sharp yet dignified, his hair swept back with detail that seemed almost lifelike. The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, carried the presidential seal, an eagle with wings spread, clutching arrows and an olive branch, surrounded by stars and a ring of bold lettering. It was instantly recognizable and carried deep meaning for Americans still mourning the loss of their leader. Why 1982, the coin had already become a familiar part of U.S. currency, though it wasn't seen often in circulation. Many Americans saved Kennedy halves, preferring not to spend them, while banks and businesses rarely ordered them in large quantities. This gave the coin a somewhat special status, a circulating piece that always felt a little out of the ordinary. The 1982 D half-dollar, struck at the Denver Mint, would at first seem like just another issue in that long tradition. Yet its story takes a unique turn that has made it a legend among collectors. One of the most important details about 1982 is that the U.S. Mint did not strike any official mint sets that year. For coin collectors, mint sets are a crucial way to obtain pristine, uncirculated examples of each denomination. The absence of mint sets in 1982 meant that collectors who wanted flawless examples of the Kennedy half-dollar had to rely on coins struck for circulation, a far more difficult task. This scarcity of high-grade coins instantly elevated the status of the 1982 D Kennedy half-dollar. While millions were minted, the number of pieces surviving in gem condition is exceedingly small. On the obverse, Kennedy's portrait dominates, his features sharp yet softened with the passage of time. The inscriptions "Liberty" above and "In God We Trust" below are joined by the date, 1982, and the small d mint mark, which quietly signals Denver as the birthplace of this coin. On the reverse, the eagle remains as bold as ever, spreading its wings in defiance and strength, with the phrases "United States of America" and "half-dollar" boldly circling the design. Each detail, from the feathers of the eagle to the rays that surround the presidential seal, adds to the artistry that makes this coin timeless. The beauty of the Kennedy half-dollar is undeniable, but its collector appeal lies in the layers of rarity and condition. The 1982 D coins that entered circulation were subject to the usual wear and tear, nicks, scratches, and dulling of luster. Finding an example that survived without blemishes, one that glows with original brilliance and sharp strike, is like searching for a needle in a haystack. Professional grading services, such as PCGS and NGC, certify these coins, and when a coin from 1982D is graded MS66 or higher, it becomes a superstar in the auction world. And indeed, the auction records bear this out. Time and again, 1982 D Kennedy halves in exceptional condition have crossed the block, each time drawing competitive bidding that pushes prices higher. Collectors know how scarce these coins are in top grades, and when one appears, they are ready to fight for it. Over the years, the repeated presence of these coins in major auctions has only added to their mystique, cementing their reputation as one of the modern giants of American numismatics. Some sales have defied expectations entirely, with values that shock even seasoned collectors. It is in this arena that the 1982 D Kennedy half-dollar has proven its worth, reaching an astounding valuation of $443,000 for the finest examples, a price that seems almost surreal for a coin most people think of as pocket change. Beyond the numbers, however, is the emotional connection this coin carries. The Kennedy half-dollar was never just a piece of metal. It was a tribute, a way for ordinary people to hold onto the memory of a president who inspired a nation. For collectors, owning a rare 1982 D example is not just about rarity or grade. It is about owning a piece of history that ties together memory, artistry, and the thrill of discovery. The fact that such coins continue to make headlines and repeated auctions only reinforces the sense that these are more than collectibles. They're cultural icons. There are also stories of minting varieties and errors that have added to the allure of the 1982 D half dollar. Some coins showed doubling in their lettering or other small anomalies, each one a product of the unpredictable nature of minting at high speeds. These varieties, authenticated and documented, have become prized finds in the community, often achieving prices far above their face value. Every collector dreams of stumbling across such a rarity, tucked away in a forgotten roll or inherited collection. The Denver Mint itself adds another layer to the story. Known for its efficiency and volume, the Denver facility produced millions of half dollars in 1982, yet the absence of official mint sets meant that these coins quickly disappeared into circulation, lost to the everyday exchanges of commerce. Only through diligent searching and careful saving did collectors manage to preserve a handful of extraordinary specimens. The survival of these coins, decades later, is a testament to luck, vigilance, and the passion of numismatics. Over time, the 1982 D. Kennedy half dollar has achieved something rare among modern coins. It has become a legend. It combines the history of Kennedy's legacy, the artistry of Roberts and Gasparo, the scarcity created by the absence of mint sets, and the thrill of repeated auction success. Together, these elements make it more than just a coin. It is a story, a symbol, and a treasure. And so, we arrive at the most thrilling part of the tale, the value. While the vast majority of 1982 D. Kennedy half dollars are worth little more than 50 cents, those rare gems that survive in pristine, uncirculated condition are worth fortunes. At repeated auctions, they have commanded staggering sums, with the pinnacle reaching $443,000. For collectors, this is the dream. The idea that a coin minted for everyday use, overlooked by millions, could become a life-changing discovery. The 1982 D. Kennedy half dollar reminds us to look closer at the change in our hands, to never dismiss the ordinary, because within the ordinary can hide the extraordinary. It is a reminder that history, memory, artistry, and chance often collide in numismatics, creating treasures that inspire awe. For those lucky enough to hold one of these rare coins, it is not just about owning a piece of metal, but about holding a piece of America's story, one that continues to shine brightly in the world of collectors and auctions alike. In the world of American coinage, few pieces carry as much historical weight and visual power as the 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar that proudly displays Independence Hall on its reverse. This coin was created during a moment of national celebration, a time when the United States was honoring 2 centuries of freedom, struggle, and progress. Minted as part of the Bicentennial coinage, the Kennedy half dollar from 1976 was never just an ordinary circulating coin. It was a patriotic tribute, a reminder of America's journey from its founding moments to the modern era. And among the many that were struck, there exist rare versions of this coin that have stunned collectors at repeated auctions, with values soaring to levels that leave even seasoned numismatists in awe. Some of the finest examples of the 1776 to 1976 rare Kennedy Independence Hall half dollar have achieved valuations as high as $394,000, transforming a common-looking coin into a symbol of national pride and numismatic prestige. The origins of this coin trace back to the early 1970s, when Congress in the United States Mint began preparing for the nation's 200th birthday. The bicentennial celebrations would span the entire country, and the Mint was tasked with creating special coinage that could circulate widely while reminding every American of the significance of 1776. For the half dollar, the obverse remained dedicated to President John F. Kennedy, whose assassination in 1963 had inspired the creation of the coin in the first place. His profile, facing left, designed by Gilroy Roberts, continued to embody both strength and dignity. But the reverse was transformed for the occasion, replacing the presidential seal with one of the most important symbols of American independence, Independence Hall in Philadelphia. Designed by Seth G. Huntington, the reverse depicts Independence Hall with its tall spire rising skyward, a building instantly recognizable to anyone who has studied American history. This was the place where both the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution were debated and adopted, the true birthplace of American liberty. Above the building, the words 200 Years of Freedom are inscribed, and below it reads 1776 to 1976, a bold reminder of the bicentennial years. The inscriptions United States of America and $half complete the design, surrounding an image that was meant to stir patriotism every time the coin passed from hand to hand. The decision to issue special bicentennial designs for the quarter, $half, and dollar was unprecedented in U.S. coinage history. Not only were these coins minted in vast numbers for circulation, but the mint also produced special collector versions, including silver-clad proofs and uncirculated issues. For the Kennedy $half, production occurred at several facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. While millions were struck, the San Francisco Mint's silver-clad proofs quickly became favorites among collectors due to their higher quality and richer appearance. But what elevates certain 1776 to 1976 Kennedy $half into the realm of extraordinary value is a combination of rarity, condition, and special varieties that have surfaced over the years. Collectors quickly realized that the Independence Hall design made this coin unique in the series. Unlike the quarters and dollars of the bicentennial program, the $half had an even deeper emotional resonance because it already carried the image of John F. Kennedy on the obverse. Pairing Kennedy's portrait with Independence Hall created a coin that seemed to embody both sacrifice and freedom, linking the loss of a modern leader with the founding spirit of the nation. It is no wonder that millions of Americans chose to save these coins rather than spend them, tucking them away as keepsakes of the bicentennial year. Yet, as is often the case in numismatics, the majority of these coins are worth only their face value today. The story becomes far more fascinating, however, when we turn our attention to the rarest examples. Coins struck with exceptional precision, coins preserved in flawless condition, and coins that exhibit unique minting anomalies. These are the pieces that have repeatedly appeared in major auctions, drawing collectors from around the world to bid fiercely, each hoping to own a tangible piece of America's 200th anniversary. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC have certified some of these coins at the highest levels, with grades like MS67 and MS68. The survival of such pristine examples is astonishing, given that most Kennedy halves from this era were circulated heavily or stored without the kind of care required to maintain perfection. When such coins do appear at auction, the excitement is palpable. Collectors know they may not get another chance for years, if ever. The auctioneer's hammer falls, and suddenly, what was once a 50-cent piece takes on a value in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Equally compelling are the rare varieties and errors associated with the 1776 to 1976 Kennedy $half. From double dies that show slight overlapping in the inscriptions, to off-center strikes and planchet anomalies, these varieties add layers of intrigue and rarity. Each one tells a different story about the minting process, offering collectors the thrill of discovering something truly unusual. When authenticated and offered at auction, these error coins often achieve prices far above standard examples, adding to the legend of the bicentennial $half. The story of this coin cannot be separated from the story of John F. Kennedy himself. His assassination in 1963 had plunged the nation into mourning, and the creation of the Kennedy $half the following year was both a tribute and a comfort. By 1976, pairing his likeness with Independence Hall felt almost poetic, a blending of the memory of a fallen leader with the ideals of freedom and democracy. For many Americans, these coins became more than money. They became keepsakes, reminders of both a beloved president and a proud national milestone. The fascination with these coins has only grown with time. At repeated auctions, stories of extraordinary sales continue to surface, each one adding to the mystique. Collectors and investors alike recognize that coins such as these are not merely historical artifacts, but symbols of pride and endurance. The fact that some examples have achieved values as high as $394,000 underscores just how powerful the combination of history, rarity, and artistry can be in the numismatic world. When one of these coins is offered at auction, the anticipation builds. Bidders line up, knowing that they are competing for more than silver, more than a denomination. They're competing for a piece of America's soul. The gavel falls, the crowd reacts, and the legend of the 1776 to 1976 Kennedy Independence Hall $half grows ever larger. And so, the story of this remarkable coin comes to its thrilling conclusion. While millions of 1776 to 1976 Kennedy halves exist, It is the rarest and most pristine examples that have captured the imagination of collectors and driven prices to dizzying heights. At repeated auctions, these coins have sold for astonishing amounts, with one of the finest examples reaching an incredible $394,000. For a coin that began as a simple 50-cent piece, this is nothing short of extraordinary. The 1776 to 1976 rare Kennedy Independence Hall half dollar is more than a collectible. It is a piece of living history, a symbol of freedom, memory, and national pride. For those lucky enough to discover one in exceptional condition, it represents not only a connection to the past, but the possibility of life-changing value. It reminds us that hidden treasures often lie in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to reveal their brilliance in the spotlight of an auction. The 1972 Kennedy half dollar is one of those coins that proves time and again that history, art, and rarity can collide to create something unforgettable. At first glance, the 1972 half dollar may seem like just another piece of circulating currency from the post-silver era of U.S. coinage. But as collectors and auction houses have shown repeatedly, certain examples of this coin rise far above ordinary value. Some of these rare 1972 Kennedy half dollars have sold at major auctions for jaw-dropping amounts, with the most extraordinary reaching as high as $400,000. It's the kind of coin that makes both seasoned numismatists and casual collectors stop in awe, because it carries with it the fascinating story of John F. Kennedy, the turbulence of its era, and the remarkable survival of rare minting varieties. The Kennedy half dollar series itself is rooted in tragedy and national unity. In 1963, following the shocking assassination of President John F. Kennedy, the United States Mint moved swiftly to honor him. Within months, the Franklin half dollar design was retired, and in 1964, Kennedy's portrait, designed by Gilroy Roberts, appeared on the half dollar's obverse. Paired with Frank Gasparo's heraldic eagle reverse, the coin was an instant symbol of remembrance. Americans hoarded the first year's silver issues in enormous numbers, and even when silver content was reduced after 1965 and eventually eliminated in regular circulation strikes, the Kennedy half dollar retained its place as both a circulating coin and a treasured memento. Why 1972? The Kennedy half dollar was firmly established in U.S. coinage, but the times were changing. The country was deep into the post-silver era, and all standard half dollars were now struck in a copper-nickel clad composition. Millions rolled off the presses at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. To the untrained eye, they seemed like everyday coins, used at banks, casinos, and in pocket change. But this year produced remarkable varieties and high-grade survivors that collectors now chase with intensity. These are the coins that surface in repeated auctions, fetching prices that transform an ordinary-looking half dollar into a life-changing discovery. The obverse of the 1972 half dollar carries Kennedy's enduring profile. His hair is finely detailed, the jawline bold, and the inscriptions "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the year 1972 frame the design. The reverse still bore the presidential seal, an eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch, surrounded by stars and the words United States of America and half dollar. It's a design that resonates deeply, linking the memory of a fallen president with the authority and dignity of the nation itself. What makes the 1972 Kennedy half dollar truly compelling are the varieties and minting errors. Among the most famous is the 1972 Dino FG variety. On the reverse, beneath the eagle's tail feathers, the initials FG for designer Frank Gasparo are typically visible. On rare Denver minted coins from 1972, however, these initials are missing due to excessive dye polishing. These coins are so scarce that collectors have paid extraordinary sums for them, especially in pristine condition. At repeated auctions, the 1972 Dino FG half dollar has commanded astonishing premiums, making it one of the most desirable modern varieties in U.S. coinage. Beyond varieties, the condition of a 1972 Kennedy half dollar can make all the difference. The vast majority of these coins were circulated, bearing scratches, nicks, and wear from everyday use. Finding a coin in mint state 67 or higher is exceptionally rare. Grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified only a handful at those levels, and when they appear at auction, collectors compete fiercely. Auction houses have recorded bidding wars where the final hammer price soared far beyond expectations, with elite specimens reaching into six-figure territory. The San Francisco Mint also produced proof versions in 1972, intended for collectors. These coins, with their sharp details and mirrored fields, are stunning in their own right. But even within proofs, certain varieties and errors, such as double dyes or cameo contrasts, carry immense value. A deep cameo proof, preserved without the faintest blemish, has sold for breathtaking amounts in auctions, reinforcing the lesson that condition and rarity combined can elevate a coin's value beyond imagination. The story of this coin is not only about its physical design and errors, but also about its place in American culture. The early 1970s were years of transition, marked by political uncertainty, economic challenges, and societal shifts. Against this backdrop, the Kennedy half-dollar served as a constant reminder of leadership and hope. Families still held onto rolls of them, remembering Kennedy's presidency, while collectors increasingly focused on identifying rare varieties. Over time, what was once seen as a common coin gained a reputation for hidden treasures, the kind that could turn a pocket find into a collector's dream. Auctions have been central to elevating the reputation of a 1972 Kennedy half-dollar. Each time a rare variety, like the 1972 Dino FG or a flawless high-grade specimen appears, the numismatic community watches closely. Stories circulate of one selling for tens of thousands, another for over 100,000, and still another breaking all expectations at $400,000. These repeated auction events build excitement and mystique around the coin, ensuring that every collector dreams of stumbling upon one of these rarities in their own collection. Part of the thrill comes from the accessibility of the Kennedy half-dollar. Unlike ancient coins or early U.S. rarities, the 1972 half-dollar is modern, familiar, and still obtainable in circulation. The idea that an ordinary-looking coin and change could actually be a fortune is intoxicating. That thrill drives collectors to carefully examine every Kennedy half-dollar they come across, especially those from the 1970s. And when a discovery does surface and makes headlines through a major auction, it fuels even more interest, proving that modern coins can be just as exciting as centuries-old pieces. The artistry of the coin also contributes to its ongoing appeal. Gilroy Roberts' portrait of Kennedy has stood the test of time, capturing not just a likeness but a spirit of leadership. Frank Gasparo's eagle on the reverse, although replaced temporarily in 1975 and 1976 for the Bicentennial, remains a bold national symbol. In 1972, the pairing of these designs was already iconic, and today they remind collectors of a coin that has been in American pockets for generations, while holding extraordinary secrets in certain examples. The journey of a 1972 Kennedy half-dollar from common coin to auction star is a reminder of why numismatics captivates so many. It teaches us that value isn't always obvious, that history and rarity can elevate even a familiar object into something extraordinary. Collectors who study varieties, search rolls, and attend auctions know that perseverance can lead to incredible rewards. And when a coin as unassuming as a 1972 Kennedy half-dollar can reach $400,000, it keeps the dream alive for everyone who collects it. We reach the climax of this story. The message becomes clear. The 1972 Kennedy half-dollar is more than just 50 cents. It is a piece of history, a memorial to a beloved president, and a coin that has repeatedly shattered expectations at auctions. While millions exist, only a tiny fraction carry the rare traits, flawless preservation, or varieties that make them worth life-changing sums. And in the most extraordinary cases, the value of this coin has soared to an astonishing $400,000. So the next time you come across a 1972 Kennedy half-dollar, don't dismiss it as just another old coin. Look closely, study the details, and remember that hidden treasures often reveal themselves when least expected. This is the magic of numismatics, and the 1972 rare Kennedy half-dollar is one of its brightest stars, a coin that continues to inspire awe at repeated auctions and remains a symbol of how history and rarity can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary.